Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and that guy that really hates Armada Hotshot. This is not a test. This is a random review.
Before we begin, thank you very much to James B. for joining my Patreon campaign. Thank you so much for the support. Really, genuinely appreciate it. I love what you guys have been doing for me lately. I do want to congratulate everybody out there. Thanks to you, I will not be able to do my normal intro throughout the month of March. I officially have enough people signed up for my Patreon that I have shout-outs due all the way through the end of the month. So congratulations, you did it. I think that's 2 straight months. I have not been able to deliver a normal intro. We'll get there. Someday. One day. It'll happen again. You'll excuse me if I don't have a face cam on right now, by the way, because I went to a medieval fair yesterday, and then a bunch of toy shopping, and then a whole bunch of... I was basically running around on the other side of the coast of Florida for like a good 15 hours. I'm dead. I'm exhausted. I have, I look like a wreck. So we're just doing this all natural, old school style, but we're doing something very different and interesting for me. I'm talking about a third-party toy. Look at it. Look at it. I'm actually talking about something Hasbro didn't make, but still transforms into something that's familiar. This is Dr. Wu's Energy Dragon. Yes, it is a super tiny little Trypticon. And I love this. So, yeah, they used to make like little tiny figurine transformers back in the early 2000s. It was one of the very first times that Hasbro, or that Takara per se, started to tap the nostalgia market for Transformers by introducing these tiny little chibi kind of designed vinyl figures called My Clone. And I always wanted to get the Trypticon because it was just too freaking cute. So this kind of scratches the itch while still also being a completely functional Transformer, which is actually really, really cool. So we're going to go over it today in all of its glorious details, do something a little bit different. So for starters, as you can see, it's this lovely little interpretation of G1 Trypticon in this very loose interpretation of its defense platform mode. And I do say, like, it at least does have a rolling feature to it, so you can roll it around. It has 4 functioning wheels. I didn't expect that. But it's a tiny little, like, nothing of a mode, which granted, the vehicle mode of G1 Trypticon is pretty much the same way. It's basically a T-Rex rolling around on its back. But we love it anyway. And this is kind of a cute little rendition of it. I do like the cannons. The cannons here are not permanently affixed like they are on G1 or Titan Return Trypticon. They are removable, and you're supposed to move them about the toy as you're putting it into the different modes. Here they are these big side cannons, which is fine. They look fine. It's a little bit odd to see them so wide out, but it doesn't really like affect anything, really. Yeah, and it's just this cute little mode. It is sculpted, by the way, in a very dark gray plastic, as well as purple plastics and white plastics, which gives us our traditional Trypticon colors. You're going to see hits of teal and tiny little bits of orange in there as well. Only translucent detail in there for now is going to be the barrel of the cannon. So it doesn't have like the full detachable cannon like the G1 toy does. No, there's actually some interesting design improvements. So while you can see it as like a downside that these are no longer permanent fixtures on the toy's engineering, there's a few interesting little tricks. For instance, this is how the toy comes packed with the tail completely folded away like so, which not only gives you a little bit of fan moding, you can leave it like that too and just pretend like that is his full mode. That's his full vehicle mode. It's kind of like a rolling assault vehicle. Yeah, so you have options. You have things you can do to goof around with it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to like figure out a few interesting new things to do with Trypticon's basic layout. You'll see more as we transform it. What else can we do here? So for starters, these cannons are actually spring-loaded. If you press them in all the way, they will stay, and you'll have a little button that lets you eject them out like so. A little bit of interesting little gimmick. It's a little bit of a cannon firing trick. There's no transformation mode that requires them to do this, and one of mine is very stubborn about locking in. It will eventually stay put, but you have to put quite a bit more force into it than I would like just to get it to do that. But it's neat that such a tiny little figure has also managed some spring-loaded gimmicks as well. We're not rocket firing, so we're not losing anything, and it's it's a little fun little action-y, gimmicky thing to do. All right, so it's supposed to be a base, right? We know Trypticon has a base, right? So let's put this aside for a second, and I'm going to show you something else this thing comes with, because from here on out, it's going to be a permanent fixture on him, and that's going to be the super tiny version of Full Tilt. Look at how tiny Full Tilt is on this guy. Look at it, super small, super small. Now, it's purple plastic, black wheels, a little bit of silver on the top. It actually does look like the super tiny and flat version of Trypticon's little assistant minifigure. What's cool about this, one, rolling wheels, so it actually does function, and two, step one, step two. So it's not doesn't technically transform, but the fact that they actually got the robot in there somehow, I think is super, super clever. And yeah, it's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. So on him, we can mount him. It works in either direction, but I kind of prefer to put the flat side onto this flat side. And that can just stay and live there for the rest of this toy's duration. It doesn't get in the way of anything. It's going to fill out some details later. Let's try the base mode, shall we? Let's actually get him into the tower, like the actual battle station mode, which I'm going to unpeg the arms from the side and raise them up to do. He kind of takes the Scorponok route of just like holding arms up, and those are going to be towers. We'll raise the central one too, as formed from the cannon. And the legs are the main bulk of Trypticon's base mode transformation, right? So let's get those out, unpegged from the side. We'll just go ahead and start unclipping things from here. The legs unclip from the top, split in half like so. Make sure the feet are angled up this way to get out of the way. Go ahead and fold this panel in, which you don't really have to, but we're trying to be like exact to how it looks. And then you can fold out those extra guns there. Do it again on this side. If the clip will come undone, there we go. And once again, ball joint out of the way, move that, fold the toes in, flip the guns out. And now we need to get the tail back out. So we'll unaccordion that. And we need to get a few more panels out here because we need this ramp to go all the way down. So we will fold out the next section of the tail, and then we'll fold out that section of the tail, close that whole thing up. And with all that out of the way, just make sure it all goes flat to the ground. There we go. And that is going to be our tiny little base mode for Trypticon. Oh, I'm sorry, Energy Dragon. You know, just like in G1, it's just it's the T-Rex mode with its legs splayed outside. But you know what? That's completely accurate. That's exactly how we like our Trypticons. Looking like a Thanksgiving turkey ready to stuff. But it's a nice little attempt to create some semblance of the base mode. Now, obviously, it's not designed to work with any other figure. You're not going to be rolling anything around on it. Even Full Tilt doesn't fit the ramp. But it is a nice little approximation. Gets it done. It is, you know, something akin to its traditional mode, even if things have been rearranged a little bit. Nothing too bad about it. But yeah, it is kind of neat. Because the ankles of the T-Rex mode are on ball joints, that does mean you can move them and actually use these side weapons kind of like turrets. So they actually have different positions and angles they can move at. The guns themselves and the hinges, so they can be in anti-air positions. Really, really neat. Yep, and then if we take a little close-up, yeah, he does have this, like, you got the arrows pointed down, like it's supposed to look just like the old ramp. And then you get a little bit of extra detail there on the side, some teal paint. Teal green paint going. Really, really nice. Yeah. he looks good. Like, it's a cute little interpretation of the G1 base mode. I mean, it almost does make me wish that there were Transformers small enough to roll around it. But alas, there is not. We haven't gotten them that size yet. Alright, so let's go ahead to try the T-Rex mode. For that, I am finally going to remove these side cannons. And we're going to show a few more of the cool transformation tricks to this guy. So for starters, we'll get the legs out of the way and go ahead and fold them in correctly. As opposed to incorrectly, which is what everything else in the review has been. Fold them down like so. They're going to tab into the sides. Make sure everything is actually clipped properly, unlike what I have done here. Alright, there we go. On the back side, make sure those turrets are folded down. Now on the inside, you do have these, which are technically optional. He doesn't need them in order to stay up or in order to stay balanced. This is what these little feet, these little inner toe things, they kind of constituted how he walked in the original toy. How the original toy just kind of like lumbered around. So that is a little bit of a throwback, but it's an accurate design detail, so I like that it's included. At the tail, we're going to go ahead and fold this little ramp back, and then we need to hang on. We need to accordion one level further and get that tiny tip of the tail out. And that's going to be our tail. I love how much like inner folding this thing is capable of. All right, so the cannon. Check this out. So again, with the accordion engineering, I'm going to fold the cannon down like this, which is going to give me the room to fold the tip in like that, fold the whole thing in like that, and then I'm not going to fold it all the way in. I'm going to leave it out so it kind of flows into full tilt down there and gives me a full torso. And then we're just going to fold down the head like so, bend the shoulders to get them in the right spot. For these, plug one in here on the side, flip out like so to give it the right position. Do the same on this side, flip out like that. And that is going to give us our energy dragon in robot mode, or T-Rex mode, or whatever we technically call Trypticon's mode at this point. Yeah, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Replicates the original transformation pretty well, I would say. And yeah, it's just a fun little fiddle thing. I mean, it does a really good job. It's a bizarre toy, but it's fun. I guess bizarre is fun, isn't it? Alright, as usual with one of these reviews, we can take a close-up look of the head. It's a very different head for us to typically take a look at this point, but hey, it is a head nonetheless. They did a good job of making all of Trypticon's details quite small, kind of cute, and yeah, it works. It works really well for me. You can see all the sculpted detail lines in there to give the face the right look, and yeah, it's a lot of really good detail work. Now, as long as we're here, let's take a look at some of the other features. For starters, the cannon in the head is there. You can lift up the cover, and the gun does go up and down, so you can aim it a little bit. I kind of wish it was just a little bit more like the original, just like a flap, because I kind of like leaving the flap up like a big glowing like energy horn. Not going to quite get to do that on this one. It's a little bit too wide, but hey, at a small size, I'm not really complaining. I'm just pointing it out. Also, we're doing his armaments in the head. The guns in the mouth also exist, and then they also hinge up and down. Now, getting to them through his teeth is a little bit more difficult. I'm going in with my thumbnail here, just to try and get these angled up so it actually looks like he's shooting past his own teeth. You really don't want to blast your own teeth out when you've got a mouth gun. That's all I'm saying. I have the same problem with energy blasts in Dragon Ball Z that come out of the mouth. I'm like, you have to chew with those, you know. Alright. Speaking of chew, let's chew on a little bit more of the detail here. So you can see the ball joints in the shoulders give him lots of range of motion there. The head goes up and down quite nicely. I love all the function. There's two hinges in the neck, which gives you a lot of motion. I can make him hunchbacked if I want to. Oh, it's cool. All right. Go ahead and fold the... neck down like that. That does. I do wish that kind of clipped into place a little bit, but hey, it's not too hard to put back in where it goes. The articulation is kind of limited on him. So the hips are old style. They just kind of go up and down. You do have a knee that is not very great. It's about 45 degrees worth of motion. The ankle does have full rock and tilt thanks to some of the transformation, and it does rotate. That's the bulk of your bulk of your articulation there. And yeah, then the hands as well, individual claws. Well, I guess the top claws are connected, and then the bottom claw is not. Still, gives you a good bit of functionality for something so small. I do wish there was some outward hip motion. I try to get some outward hip going, and it opens up the panel. So I kind of wish that was a little bit more snug. But it's not like I'm going to do huge, like, Karate Man poses with my Trypticon. He's going to be like a hunched-over, old-style T-Rex for his entire existence. So I really shouldn't try fighting that. There's just times I kind of wish I could put him in a little bit more of a dynamic pose is all. But still, it's cute. It's adorable. All right, and yeah, it functions everything I want in a Trypticon, aside from, a little bit of limited articulation. So that is going to be my look at Dr. Wu's Energy Dragon. Now, to give you just like a sense of scale here, just before we go, there is a classic hero team Grimlock, aka or more akin to a Rescue Bots Grimlock, at least scale-wise. As you can see, that technically Energy Dragon's smaller than that, bulk-wise. They're fairly comparable, technically. Just to let you know how tiny this guy is, and how much it's kind of surprising that he recreates the original Trypticon at such a tiny scale. It's a lot of fun. Also, Dr. Wu is doing like a bajillion variations on the color scheme. You can get everything from the metallic version of this to, I want to say there's a shattered glass. I know there's a pink one. You get pink ones. You can get translucent ones. You have a lot of variety in your tiny Trypticons. But no, it's a fun pickup. It's a fun pickup. There's only a couple things about it that bug me, and they're not enough to deter from what I wanted from the toy, which was just a tiny little Trypticon to sit on my desk and occasionally be a tiny base that no one was small enough to fit on. And for that, he does everything I wanted. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.